All right, let's jump right into this explainer and uncover the actual hard science of how our dogs process affection on a daily basis. Look, most of us just want to give our dogs the best life possible, right? But the thing is, we often totally misunderstand what's actually going on inside their brains. So today, we're unpacking the fascinating neurochemistry of the human-canine bond. And honestly, it's going to completely change how you interact with your dog today.
So what do dogs actually care about? It's so easy to assume that loving a dog well means you need deep pockets for fancy toys, expensive premium food, or, these massive hour-long rigorous training protocols. But the research points somewhere entirely different. Science actually tells us that your dog's bond with you isn't built on any of those grand gestures. This right here brilliantly illustrates the divide. We tend to focus on the big logistics, the stuff we can buy or schedule. Meanwhile, their brains are quietly keeping score of the tiny biochemical interactions happening right there in your living room. The bond is biological. It's totally measurable, and it's built or eroded, honestly, in 7 small, everyday moments that register in your dog's brain way more powerfully than any expensive toy ever could.
Section 1. How we communicate. The hidden power of a glance and a voice.
Okay, so our first daily habit is something you probably do without even thinking about it. Eye contact. According to a landmark 2015 Izabu University study, this was published in the journal Science, by the way, holding soft eye contact with your dog mutually spikes a very specific bonding hormone simultaneously in both of you. We're talking about oxytocin, the famous love hormone. When researchers measured this in 30 dog owner pairs, they found that simply holding a mutual gaze elevated this hormone across species at the exact same time. How wild is that?
But wait, here is the truly fascinating part. This biological mechanism actually co-evolved specifically between humans and dogs. Because when the same researchers tested wolves that had been raised by humans using the exact same protocol, this oxytocin loop, it simply didn't activate. Zero. No other animal on Earth can share this specific biochemical exchange with us. So hey, the next time your dog looks up at you, just hold that gaze softly for a few seconds longer. You're literally opening up a completely unique neurochemical loop.
Habit number 2 is all about how we speak. Now, we all do it. It's easy to wonder if that totally embarrassing, high-pitched dog voice you use when no one else is around is actually doing anything. Well, let's take a look at what an fMRI scanner revealed about the canine brain. The crucial takeaway here is that a dog's brain parses language super carefully. In a 2018 University of York study, researchers found that dogs only moved toward a speaker when a warm tone was paired with meaningful words. And a 2016 fMRI study actually explains why. Dogs process language with a left hemisphere bias, just like us. Their reward center only fires when the warm tone and the meaningful word arrive at the exact same time. If you use a warm tone but say irrelevant words, or use your normal adult voice with dog words, the reward center stays totally quiet. You absolutely need both to light up those reward regions. Moving to Section 2. Moving and playing together. Greetings, walks, and the rules of the game.
Right, so habit number 3 is all about the moment you walk through your front door. For years, the popular advice was to totally ignore an excited dog when you got home, right? The idea was to prevent separation anxiety by keeping it neutral and not rewarding the excitement. But science has proven this advice has the cause and effects completely backwards. A 2014 study found that physical contact combined with a verbal greeting was actually the only condition that kept oxytocin elevated after the reunion was over.
Now, if you're a bit skeptical because, that was a controlled lab study, a massive 2021 survey of nearly 2,000 dog owners absolutely backed it up. It showed that owners of dogs with separation problems actually used lower arousal greetings than owners of dogs without those issues. Let that sink in. The calmer the greeting, the worse the dog's separation behavior actually became. So when you get home, drop down, use their name, give them a good pet. You've got a short window before that hormonal opportunity just passes by.
Let's move to our 4th habit, taking things outside the house. Let's be honest, most walks are essentially human escorts. We dictate the distance, we set the pace. But a 2019 study showed that giving a dog olfactory freedom, basically letting them do nose work by following scents and choosing where to stop, makes a massive psychological difference. Dogs that were allowed to lead with their nose became measurably more optimistic on a cognitive bias test, whereas the dogs stuck doing strict heel work, no change at all. Letting them sniff activates their dopamine reward system in a way that just marching in a straight line simply cannot do. Back inside for habit number 5, and we need to completely bust the alpha myth when it comes to play. There's this widely held belief that you should always win at tug of war so your dog doesn't think they're the boss. Well, a 2002 study on golden retrievers proved that losing tug of war doesn't ruin your dominance at all. Fact is, whether the dog won or lost, the dominance factor was completely untouched. But what did change? Letting them win actually increased their obedient attentiveness and their focus on the owner. So yeah, it's perfectly fine. Let them keep the rope.
And it turns out that how you show up emotionally during the game matters way more to their stress levels than who actually ends up with the toy. A separate study tracking handler behavior found that your warmth and physical affection consistently predict lower cortisol, which means lower stress in your dog after the game. On the flip side, getting overly disciplinary or strict during play actually causes a cortisol spike. So just let them win and have fun doing it.
Section 3. The power of presence. Food, praise, and the energy you bring home.
If I asked you to guess what motivates your dog the absolute most, you'd probably say treats, right? Food is the ultimate currency. But an incredibly fascinating 2016 brain imaging study done on 15 awake dogs might just change your mind entirely. When these dogs were trained to associate symbols with either food or verbal praise, the caudate nucleus in their brains, that's the reward center, activated equally for both. And get this, for some dogs, it actually activated more for verbal praise than for food. When given a literal choice to run to a bowl of food or run to their owner for praise, those dogs chose their owner. Which brings us to habit number 6, 3 minutes of reward-based pre-meal training. The method absolutely matters. Reward-trained dogs become calmer, more confident, and significantly more bonded to you because their brain literally registers your praise as a primary reward. And the best part? That feeling accumulates over time to build a much deeper bond.
Habit number 7 is perhaps the most surprising one of all, mostly because it requires you to do absolutely nothing. When researchers tested newly sheltered dogs across 3 different conditions, passive sitting, active petting, and playtime, they found that simply sitting quietly in the exact same room reduced a dog's cortisol just as effectively as active touch or play. Honestly, your mere quiet presence is an incredibly powerful stress reliever for them. But there is a massive catch here, and it was just revealed in a brand new 2025 study tracking 85 dog owner pairs. Your dog acts as a biological mare. The variable that most reliably elevated the dog's cortisol wasn't the owner having a stressful job. It was the owner's inability to mentally leave work at the door. If you're sitting there physically passive, but internally you're ruminating and stressing out about an email from your boss, you are actively elevating your dog's stress hormones. Their stress tracks your mental state, not just your physical behavior. You have to actually mentally be in the room with them. You simply cannot fake relaxation with a dog.
Section 4. Building a biological bond. The moments that matter.
We've covered a lot of ground in this explainer, from oxytocin loops to dopamine pathways, but ultimately the profound bond you share isn't built on expensive overhauls, massive time blocks, or stressful behavioral protocols. It's written in neurochemicals and cortisol patterns through these 7 beautifully ordinary daily moments. It's built when you hold eye contact just a second longer, when you follow their nose on a morning walk, and when you put your phone away to truly, mentally be present with them.
The science clearly shows us that every single interaction is an opportunity. You literally hold the neurochemical keys to your dog's happiness. So the only question left is, the next time your dog walks up to you, which of these small moments will you choose to rewrite their brain today?